Hello, welcome to Driver's Seat and to the Subaru Levorg, a 5-door family sports estate. Now this is the 2017 edition and comes with just one spec and one engine to choose from in the UK. That's a 1.6 litre turbocharged boxer petrol with all-wheel drive, a 6-speed automatic gearbox and this GT line trim. So the GT line trim gets these deep aggressive front bumpers, the bonnet scoop, and the 2017 edition gets this eyesight system, which we'll come on to in a bit. While the GT line gets darkened rear windows, 18-inch alloys, deep side skirts, the chrome finish to the wing mirrors. I think overall it's a really handsome car. You've got this strong shoulder line going through, the cut-off wheel arches, and an extra accent for good measure. While at the back, the Levorg has split tailpipes and an integrated rear diffuser. It's also got a massive boot, 522 litres of capacity in here, which is 22 more than a Ford Mondeo estate, which is a big car. Put the load cover back and my box has got loads of room in here. It's fantastic. There's also two underfloor storage areas. This front one's got two really deep bins. There's a second one behind with the tyre inflator kit. Either side of the boot you get these two little compartments which are useful, and these little drop down bag hooks. Now what's not particularly useful is the load cover. It doesn't go all the way back, so it's split. That second part that goes to the seats manually sort of wedges in. Now if you move the rear seats, you're likely to knock that and it falls down, which then rattles and is annoying, and it's quite fiddly to put back into place. And this is how it's done. Either side there's a little handle that lets you change the angle of the backrest, which is brilliant. But the problem is you then knock that second load cover and it's the trouble to get back. But in here it's pretty decent. I've got good leg, foot and knee room, and the headroom's okay. It's very comfortable. These seats are nicely finished, and between the seats is a drop down armrest with two cup holders. There's also two USB connector points there, a little bit of storage in the door, and generally it's a very pleasant environment. But in the front here there's no such frustration. It's a rather pleasant place to be. It's not too exciting, but it's well put together. There's some piano black finishes and this lovely leather with the blue stitching. I've got a flat bottom steering wheel that's absolutely covered in buttons, from lane departure, cruise control, SI drive and my radio functions. It also adjusts well for reach and tilt, and couple that with my electric seat, I can get really comfortable. In this lowest setting, plenty of headroom. In the door there's a well-sized bin that will take a bottle and a little bit more. Ahead of the gear lever is an anti-slip tray with USB and auxiliary connectors, two cup holders between the seats, and this adjustable armrest which has then got quite a deep cubby beneath. Now the armrest cleverly has got two little cutouts for your USB cable because there's two more USB power ports in there. However, those power ports don't connect to the stereo system, so are almost a little bit useless. You still have to put your phone up front or have wires dangling through the cabin. There's also a glove box which, if you take the manual out, isn't a bad size. The infotainment system is pretty decent. It's reasonably fast, it's pretty clear, and it's quite easy to use, so you can get along with it quite well indeed. What I can't quite get along with so well is this split dash. Up the top you've got trip computer and some graphics about the four-wheel drive system and your G rating, but you get this horrible little button to adjust, while other controllers are based on the steering wheel, so you're a little bit all over the place. And then there's things in the instrument binnacle as well, so it's not that well tied together. But sitting here now, I've got a good view out. I've got that bonnet bulge, which is a delight. Over the back, the rear pillars aren't too big, so I can see out well, and there's a really clear reversing camera for parking. But that's enough for that. Let's get this on the road and see what it's like to drive. The 1.6 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine with a direct injection twin scroll turbo develops 168 brake horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. That'll get this from standstill to 62 miles an hour in 8.9 seconds. It'll return 39.8 miles to the gallon and emits 164 grams per kilometre of CO2. It's fitted as standard with a symmetrical all-wheel drive system that gets torque vectoring and active torque split. The torque vectoring system essentially means that when you're going around a corner, to improve grip and driving line, the inside wheels can be braked individually, while the active torque split can change the amount of power sent to the front and rear axle. Generally, it's a 60-40 split with the bias towards the front. This gets a 6-speed lineartronic gearbox as standard, which essentially is a CVT box. It gets steering wheel mounted paddles and a manual override. The steering wheel paddles do change pretty swiftly, but what you do find is when you do change, there's then an extra surge. So you might be just changing because you want to change from manual, and it actually surges and goes faster, and it's really disconcerting and very frustrating. The engine certainly feels a bigger capacity engine than that 1.6 litres. It feels around the mid 2.5 litre mark, but a lethargic 2.5 litres. So it feels quite grown up and refined, but it's certainly not rapid in any way. And this could genuinely do with another 100 horsepower to make it a thoroughly entertaining machine. Your initial thoughts when you approach the first few corners with the handling is that it's not great. You get an initial move in the body, but what you'll learn to do is make that body movement happen before you commit to the corner. So if you're coming to a tighter corner, if you downshift or dab the brakes, the body then moves with that initial inertia, and that's the suspension travel done with. So the rest of the corner is dealt with really flat and super impressively. This thing feels like it's absolutely sucking onto the road like a limpet. The steering's got a real solid feel to it. It's not too light and it's not tiresomely heavy. It's generally pretty predictable, but you do get the odd inconsistency in feel, and mid-corner, if you do hit a big bump, it will snatch a little. However, when you're really pushing on through those corners, it's really accurate. You can lean on it, rely on it, and trust it's going to go where you want it to, which just means when you are really thrashing this thing, it's a joy and it's very trustable. Through country lanes and poorer roads in the UK, where the roads are scarred and in even worse condition than our continental friends, this really does thump about on times. Again, you get that jitteriness, and through a bigger pothole, it can crash. Now, the faster you go peculiarly, the better it gets. So if you really push on, that ride becomes a little bit more compliant. The Levorg's fitted with adaptive cruise control, which means you can set your speed and then adjust the amount of distance between you and the car in front. There's lane departure warning and lane keep assist. So the car figures out where the lines are on the road and bleeps and flashes ahead of you if you're going to leave the lane. If you've then got the lane departure assist on, it'll slightly tug you back. It doesn't keep you sat in the middle of the lane, so it's not a lane control system, but it's more of a safety device if the car thinks you're straying. There's a lane change detection system for the rear, so if you're going to change lanes on the motorway, something's coming up quicker than you, the car will detect it and let you know there could be a problem. You've also got blind spot monitor and cross traffic alert. The Levorg delights and disappoints frustratingly in equal measure. It's a really good looking, practical family wagon that if you get on the right road at the right time is an absolute joy to push it to its limits. The four-wheel drive system's impeccable. But that ride too often is just too hard and too uncomfortable, and that constant fidgeting will annoy too many people. It's such a shame. Thanks for watching Driver's Seat. Let us know what you think about the Levorg in the comments section below, and remember to subscribe to the channel for free. Why not come and visit the website to see the full review for the Levorg and other news and reviews.